Yeah.
Get going, lots to be learning, lots to be knowing about.
So not long ago, I'm reading this piece by Bloomberg Businessweek, and they talk about a study conducted by PayScale for Bloomberg about whether college is a good ROI, good return on investment. And that has been the usual media line that, well, if you go to college, you're going to make more money over a lifetime, could be $1 million more, and therefore a college degree is worth that sort of money. Well, given the fact that a college degree can cost upwards of 40, 50 grand at a public school these days and 100, 200 grand at a private school, an elite school, you'd have to make a whole lot of money in present dollars to get that back. I mean, 100 grand today, you put that in a single premium deferred annuity, and it's going to be worth more than $1 million in 40, 50 years. So the bottom line, given college inflation, is it really worth it? Well, this PayScale study for Bloomberg used one particular example. And apparently the individual did not want to give her complete name, A. Jordan, who graduated with a degree in political science from the University of North Carolina at Wilmington. She got the degree in 2008. Prior to getting her degree, she worked as a stewardess in the private yachting industry, nothing but a high school diploma. She is now with a college degree working in an administrative support job in Winston-Salem, and she says she earned triple with that stewardess job for the yachts with a high school diploma than what she's making now in her college level job. Folks, this is probably, I'm not going to say the norm, but it happens all the time. And we've got to, at some point, ask why, A, it doesn't pan out for so many people. We've got credential inflation. But B, why the cost of college is going up. And people are going into debt big time. You're looking at $50,000 at a pop in some cases to get a college degree that's not going to give them a good ROI. The book is called Debt U, How Higher Education Breeds a Lifestyle of Debt, written by a young man from Charlotte, North Carolina. His name is Logan Abrams. He's a writer, obviously, real estate broker, graduated in 2003 from a college down there, now lives in the Queen City, and decided to write this book, and I say kudos. So, Logan, welcome to the program. Hi.
Hey, thanks for having me, Jason.
Good to have you on the show. You've been worried about your college expenditure, I guess, since the day you graduated, or it started before that?
Well, I was actually beginning to get worried about it my freshman year at college. I was going to school on my own. My parents couldn't afford to really help me out, and but they still wanted me to go to college, and so I did. And it wasn't until about the end of my first semester when I realized that I couldn't stay at the school I was going to be at because it would have cost me well over $100,000. And at age 18, I wouldn't have known $100,000 would have hit me across the head.
Right. So you borrowed the money? I mean, at that point, you didn't borrow that money, but you went to a different college and borrowed the money?
Right. I transferred colleges, and I did have to borrow money, but I worked all throughout school to try to keep my expenditures and my debt as low as possible because unlike what you said in your numbers about $60,000, $100,000, $200,000, what that doesn't take into consideration is the cost of financing. And so, as you know, now student loans take 20, 25 years to repay, and that number can easily double or triple by the time you're in your 40s.
That's a great point. People think they're borrowing the principal, whether it's an automobile or a house, and you end up, of course, with financing charges, i.e. interest, paying 2, 3, 4 times that amount. It took me 10 years to pay off my student loans, but I can recall, and I'm much older than you, when I went to college, the semester for a full load, 16 credits, just now, not including room and board or books, but just the tuition, was about $400 a semester. $400 a semester. So we're looking at it, let's just round it up, $1,000 a year. You can't get 2 credits for $1,000 a year anymore. The price of college, and you touch on college inflation in your book, is something that is it is probably the greatest untold story in the mass media, as well as in Raleigh, in St. Paul, in Sacramento, in Salem. Pick any capital. The legislators are not grilling these college administrators as to why they're jacking up the cost right and left. Can you imagine? People don't realize this, but the cost of college has gone up 3, 4, 5, 6-fold when compared to medicine and the cost of fuel and gasoline.
Well, yeah, I couldn't agree with you more, and that's exactly why I wrote the book Dead You. I'm not a writer. My degree was in accounting, not in English, for a reason, but I saw this when I graduated college and into my 20s, that my generation is continuing on the path of college debt and expenditures once we get into our 20s and 30s, because we're fed this line that it's the best path to instant prosperity. But what you bring up is a good point, and the numbers are really easy. In the last 10 years, from 99 to 2009, the average cost of college tuition in America rose 108%. But
right.
At the same time, starting salaries only rose about 20%. So as you can see, just in 10 years, the value of the degree, the value of what the colleges are selling has gone up in cost, but really way down in value. And that story is just not being told.
There was a figure, 108% is about the same figure I got, and there was another figure where somebody put the cost of college inflation 5 times the cost of the price of a gallon of gasoline over the last 30 years. You go back to 1980, and the cost of a gallon of gasoline in inflation-adjusted terms was actually more than it was today, at $3 a gallon. Now, go back to those days for tuition and price it today, inflation-adjusted terms, is not even close. And yet, we grill oil companies, we grill pharmaceutical executives, we grill everybody who thinks they are gouging us except college administrators and the Board of Regents. Well, why do you suppose that is? You don't suppose it's because they're part of the government, do you?
I do believe it's that, but I believe ultimately, for some reason in this country, we have the mantra that everyone has to go to college. And it starts when the kids are really young in elementary school and high school. And, and I talk about it a lot in the book about how I personally believe that college is still a great opportunity to help ensure future success. But too often the kids are told it's either college or you're flipping burgers. And it's just not true. The kids are being lied to from a very early age, and now the supply and demand has gotten so far out of whack because we're telling every kid they have to go to college. Now, like I have a great story in there, like you were saying, the Bloomberg study. I have a great story in there where I compare the average college graduate to the average plumber in America, and I think people that read the book will be startled to find the answer.
That's a great point. If people want to be employed for life, learn a trade. And we do demean that. We demean the technical schools. We demean community colleges. We praise the liberal arts college and degrees in political science and philosophy and literature, which will make you nothing but a high-paid waitress or waiter, for that matter. And yet, if you know how to, especially given the complexity of today's automobiles, or if you know how to, you're a good mason, you're a nurse, you're an electrician, you're a plumber, those sorts of things will always be in demand because they produce real value. Now, that Bloomberg study I mentioned a moment ago had a good point, and I don't know if you got into it entirely in your book. I haven't finished it, but it's this, Logan, and that is it depends a lot on what you major in. If you go to MIT and get a degree in computer science, college may very well be worth it. If you go to the University of North Carolina or NC State in Raleigh and get a degree in philosophy after going in debt $100,000, you're making a huge mistake.
Right. This is one of the things when I'm around talking about the book that no one really wants to hear me say. But what I say is, in my opinion, unless you go to a top 50 school in your field, it doesn't matter where you went to school. You're better off choosing, as I like to call it, not cheaper, but better economical, or making a better financial decision for your future, because kids and parents don't understand that going to college is a financial decision just like purchasing a house or making an investment in a mutual fund, especially at today's cost. And for these kids at age 18, it's their largest financial decision they're going to see probably for the next 10 years.
Here's an interesting...
It's just, where does the kid want to go to school? Oh, I want to go here, I want to major in this. And,
right.
That's because kids aren't taught personal finance in this country at all.
Well, let's talk about that. As an accountant, you know more than just contra accounts. Accounting is more than that. It's about finance as well. You get a lot of finance if you major in accounting. And so if you're a parent and you figure you're going to send your child to your alma mater because you think it's cool and you had great parties on Friday and Saturday nights there, or you're going to send your child to a college that's a Big Ten school or an SEC school because it's got a great football team, and it's going to cost you $100,000. You're better off taking that $100,000, even in today's low interest rate environment, buying a single premium deferred annuity at age 18, so the kid can't touch it until they're 62. That child's going to be richer at 62 with that annuity, drawing on that once they retire, then they may very well be spending the $100,000 going to college.
Right, it's true. I actually make the joke in the book about how I do an analysis of quote unquote for-profit schools versus quote unquote non-for-profit schools. Although you'll find out in the book that there's really not a whole lot of difference. But
right.
The stock investments of the for-profit colleges, 9 times out of 10 are going to do much better than the kid's actual performance after graduation. So I make the joke that parents might want to find the investment in the school where the kids go to college and not necessarily the kid themselves. But, it all comes down to education, in my opinion, and we do a terrible job of educating kids about personal finance in this country, and so they don't know how to make good or proper financial decisions at any age in their life, not only in high school and college.
And it starts long before college, unfortunately. It starts in the primary school. It continues in the secondary schools where the kids don't have the financial wherewithal. They don't get the rudimentary basics of compound interest and all of that, and so they aren't able to make these decisions. We equate a degree, a BA, no matter what it's in, to another BA, and it simply isn't true. It depends on what you study. So, no, just get your college degree. I say, Logan, the skeptic I am, it goes back to, if you take a look at most colleges in America, where the public colleges, of course, get 2/3 of their budget from the state. And our friends on the left love to emphasize a college degree because that keeps the education bureaucracy humming along. That's more government employees. That's more members of some sort of education union. That's more Democratic voters. I don't want to get partisan too much here, but it is a huge problem. And you're right. We've been sold this bill of goods that just get your degree, just get your degree. That is not always the case. Let's talk further about why, as you say in the subtitle, higher education breeds a lifestyle of debt. More with Logan Abrams when we come back.
Here they come again. Catch us if you can. Time to get a move on. We will yell with all of our might. Catch us if you can. Catch us if you can. Catch us if you can.
Over the past 30 years, the S&P 500 index has averaged about an 11% year return. So if you invest money in the S&P 500, you'll get on average about 11% interest rate return. The vast majority of colleges have nowhere near that investment. So for a number of you out there thinking, should I put the $100,000 in college or should I put it in the S&P 500? You're better off investing the money than going to class. That's just the fact of life, and it's pointed out by Logan Abrams in his new book called Debt U, How Higher Education Breeds a Lifestyle of Debt. And as kids start to realize this, they find out they come down with what Logan terms post-graduation stress disorder. What is the end game here? Because I still don't see one of the results, Logan, could be, or one of the remedies could be that somebody finally reins in the frivolous course offerings, the massive amount of waste at universities and colleges in this country, and you lower the price of higher education so that you don't have to earn as much to get a decent return.
I think that's one part of the solution. I think just instilling in kids how to make better financial decisions. But like you said on the post-graduation stress disorder piece, and this is why this book is so good for parents who have kids ages 15 to 30, is because until the mid-'90s, college was a completely different experience. Now, college is the starting blocks for accumulating debt. And kids today in their head have this mindset that debt is necessary and that they have to have it in order to get ahead in America. And so they take on debt pretty much without any knowing of what the future consequences are, because student loan debts are the only kind of debts you can get where you don't know the term interest